Hey, how you doing? Welcome everybody to the Tarot Flow Show. So happy to have you on the Tarot Flow Show where synchronicity is the star, and I'm your host, Alison Pickering. I am very happy to have my co-host here. I'm in Los Angeles. He's in Stockholm. He is a student of all things spiritual. Please welcome Kefri Scaraboos. Welcome, Kefri.
Hi, Alison. Nice
How are
to
you?
be here.
Nice to have you here. It's always good to
Thank
have
you.
you as our special intuitive super duper guest. And we have another wonderful intuitive super duper guest
Yeah.
today. He's somebody that I knew when we were both slaving away in the gigantic Los Angeles Unified School District. And LA Unified people, hello, there is life after LA Unified. After he was a math educator and I was a literacy educator, he tapped into his powers and started working as a psychic medium. And after hosting with his adorable husband, Tony, many house concerts at their home, he ventured into singing and songwriting himself. And he's brilliant at it. And I'm so happy to welcome here Seth Eric Cutler. Welcome, Seth Cutler, to the stage of the Tarot Flow Show. Yay!
Hello, Alison. Hello, Kefri.
Nice to
Hi.
see you, and thank you for joining us here today. What is your experience? I mean, obviously, you have some experience with spirituality since you are communicating things from the other planes. Tell us
hmm
about that. Tell us about tarot. What has drawn you to this and drawn us together? What do we want to talk about, Seth?
Well, on the psychic mediumship side, I always knew stuff when I was younger. I didn't always understand what I was knowing, and sometimes it got me in trouble because I was knowing things that I really shouldn't have known. Um, so on and off through my adult life, I paid attention and didn't pay attention, and I would say I'm losing track of time, but somewhere between 12 and 15 years ago, through a really goofy situation, I ended up getting back into it and got the message that I needed to study. And so I studied with a couple of mediums for a couple of years. I became a large during that time, short size, and started my practice probably about 12, 13 years ago. So it's always exciting because people come to see me and I never know what's going to happen. As you know, that it's all going to be revealed and unfolded. But when people come see me, I ask them pretty much not to tell me anything beyond hello. Plan their questions in advance, but we won't get to them at first. And what I like to do, and I started this way because I'm a skeptic, I started with like what I call a blank slate. I'm going to give you information that I'm getting from spirit for you. And this way, like I would know, like if I was like if you asked me questions and told me things, then I have that stuff in my head clouding me. And so by not having you tell me anything, it was a purity test and cured the skeptic in me. And so when I first started out, the blank slate was maybe 15, 20 minutes. Now that blank slate could be 45 to an hour. And it always turns out I'm covering the questions my client sitters have. And then, of course, anything I didn't get to, I ask them. And then I always close with cards, oracle cards, which are kind of like tarot cards. And I do them at the end because they always sum up the messages that happened in the past hour or so. And sometimes departed loved ones come through, and that I can't control who comes. That's on them, but I can communicate for anybody who comes. So that's my psychic world in a little Brady box nutshell. And
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your sharing. It's interesting because it's somewhat similar to what we do here on the show is that we really don't know oftentimes who's going to be um, the people who are coming are not that well known to us. It's people that I may have known from another context, like, for example, with you. And other people, I've had people from my high school. I had somebody who I knew from age 6 to 9 came on the other day, and I haven't seen him all since
Oh,
then. It was
wow.
wild. Yeah. And so it's been a delightful reunion opportunity as well as a kind of test because we also do that blank slate thing. And I had a similar thing back in the 80s or the 90s when you used to have to pay America Online to do a chat room. And that's when I started doing cards just on reading very amorphous people on the other side of a chat room who I'd never met. They were just some text, and they were like, "That's amazing." And so that's how you start
Wow.
trusting what's going on. So let's take a look and see what we're going to do here today with our crazy little show. And we've had a chance to very briefly meet you and learn about some of your interesting talents, although we haven't learned about all of them because I know that you have so many artistic talents as well as your educational expertise and everything. We're going to go through and look at a focus card from the major arcana. We're going to do a nice big Celtic cross 13 card reading with you. And as always, it's, for your consideration. I'm not saying that this is predictive of the future, but what we're doing right now is it's kind of like we go along our lives in the horizontal, along the timeline. And once in a while, like you might do in your sessions, like we do here, we have a chance to kind of stop. We're not stopping time per se, but we're taking a moment to look at what the symbols are that are available right now, to see what they offer us in terms of a good topic for conversation and food for thought and all that good stuff. So anybody who's into that, go to AlisonPickering.com and you can see the different kinds of stuff that we're going to have upcoming with classes, with events, with travel, and all that good stuff. So welcome, Seth CUTLER, to the show. Here's the other star of the show, the Fool is the main character in tarot. And just so everybody knows, this is not a person, although it's depicted as if it were a person, just so we can kind of identify with it. But it's a larger archetypal force that we all have within our consciousness. And it's this kind of willingness to experience or to jump into another manifestation. It's many, many things, but it's the animating spirit, shall we say. And it's a separate thing from our instinctive physical self, which might be represented by that little dog who's very afraid. He's like, no, don't jump. But the spirit is willing, And that's the 0 card in the major arcana, or the major arcanes or secrets, what they call them. And we can take a look at these major cards and very oversimplifiedly put a little frame on them to give us some understanding of what these might be on at least one level. And the first horizontal row, we could see like our internal capacity and our early education, so to speak. We come into our life with our own internal masculine and feminine polarities. We have a physical mother and a father, whether or not we ever even knew them. We are educated into the social mores with that Hierophant card, whatever those are. That's our early education. What are the rules of society? We get into relationships and friendships. We have to deal with other people. We go beyond our initial home and out into the world. And then we go into this kind of second row, which could be depicted as the lessons of adulthood. What are the lessons of how do you handle your passions and all of the things that when all the controls are off, no longer are your parents, let's say, controlling you. You have to be responsible for yourself. What are you doing? What do you do with your passions? How do you handle your own pathwork, your own aloneness, your own solitude? What about other people and bumping into the fates that they bring? What about laws, like the Justice card? What about sacrifice or delays, like in the Hanged Man card? What about things that we just can't control, like COVID kind of marches through our lives and we just have to respond? And it can be, we don't have control over it, but we have what we result from it. And in that way, in the Temperance card, are we tested? Do we find our balance in all of that? Do we find our pathway? And then on the bottom, we could look at those as states of consciousness. We could be very, very materialistic and very power driven in that Devil card, or very work oriented. And then oftentimes something will come in and kind of knock the crown off of that ivory tower or the black tower. We've worked in the black tower, you and I, downtown. When that reality check comes through, you're left kind of naked unto yourself. What are you doing? Who are you at your authentic self? What is the emotional process of self-discovery and of plumbing your own depths and shadow aspects? And then the liberation that comes from connecting with source in that Sun card, a new awakening with the Judgment card, and then kind of an ending and a new beginning and a cycling back again into a new round with that World and the Fool card. Notice the World has 2 crystal wands and our Magician has 1 crystal wand. So there's that idea of having gone through a whole cycle and having a victory in that World card. So Among these 22 cards, Mr. Cutler, which of these appeals to you for us to unpack and just kind of do a little exposition on?
Well, since I just recorded a song about the full moon and I've decided I'm going to redo the chorus on it, so that's very present in my space, I'm going to go for the moon card. Shoot
Let's
the
do
moon.
it. Shoot the
Go for
moon.
the moon.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at that beautiful moon card and take a look at, and so right now we're not doing a reading for you per se, although you have, it's appealing to you. So we're just going to take apart some of the symbols in here. We can see, and I'll just jump back right here. I mentioned that death card. In the death card here, I don't know if you can see it, but way in the distance there are a couple of pillars with a sun rising in the distance. Those are the same pillars that we see here on the moon card. And so this is indicating that regardless of what's going on, we must make this journey. The journey doesn't seem to have an end per se, and it can be lit in a dim way that is kind of emotional for us to tread upon. And then we have on either side of this pathway, we've got our tame self and our wild self and our completely unconscious self with that crayfish coming out of the water. And like the full moon or the 3 phases of the moon, or 3 phases of lifetime where you are young, and then you are vital, and then you are mature, and then you are, and in the female versions, a crone is that older figure as well. Lots of different moods in the moon are shown there. What else could we say, Kefri, about this moon card that is available to us with the symbol?
It's a bit of the shadow also here, and we also has that crab that comes from the water, that is the influences that come deep inside of us, and they can also be cultural actually to what we have picked up during our beginning of this life, so to speak, and it also affects us and affects us in different ways actually, and that is also a bit of our shadow actually. And also we have the 2 pillars here. That of course is the pillar of the tree of life, the kabbalistical tree of life, and we have the middle path between the pillars, and that is the middle pillar, of course, that is our path, or should be our path, that leads straight up to something higher or divine, so to speak. And also we have the wolf and the dog there, that is both guarding our way and hampering our way, I would say. And one is looking a bit scared, and one is more fascinated by the moonlight there. And we also have those 15 Hebrew Yod letters there. And those who do magic knows that 15 is number for the planet Saturn also, that has a lot to do with the shadow also, so that is also in there. So there is a lot going on here, and of course the crab is coming from the water, and water is emotions. So often when we do shadow work, we can go back to our emotions early in life and find something there if we are up to it. And also the Hebrew letter for this card is Kopf, and that means the back of the head. So it is often in the reptile brain or the monkey mind, or what we say, where we can find things when we do shadow works. And last but not least, the star sign that is connected to this card is the Pisces.
Pisces. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
so Seth, that's all that words. Those are probably not the lyrics to your chorus. But you might have a holistic impression about this card that is something that attracted you to it. Tell us what you see in this.
Well, it's interesting because this song, which is called Northern Lights, came about. I was on a road somewhere walking. I don't remember where I was, and there were trees, or maybe I dreamt this. I don't know. But and the full moon was like, you know, when the full moon is just a little bit over the horizon, and it's really big. And I said, full moon's looking down on me, and she's got something to say. And I was like, and like this kind of went through, and that's not in the chorus, but the line that it's a tagline that repeats in the song. So it was just interesting because this the whole idea of the two, you know, you have the shadow and the two sides of the trail. So same phenomenon going on, but two different experiences of it. And I think we often see life through our piece of the pie, and sometimes we forget there's 8 other pieces or 7 other pieces in that pie. But so it's like that dog is seeing the moon through his piece, the wolf through his piece, and the crab, which is interesting. You talked about the back of the head, and I'm recovering from vertigo and vestibular neuritis, and I was just talking to my neurologist yesterday. When I'm getting a lot better, but when I turn my head, it's in the back that I feel the wishiness. So it really rang to me when you started talking about the reptilian brain and the back of the head, because like these lobes are all good. Back here, I still feel a little stoned. And so, so I just felt, I feel like a lot of the things you said in talking about the card actually, if not explicitly, are implicitly in the song of mine called Northern Lights.
Wonderful. Well, isn't that fun? So that's always
Yeah.
very entertaining. Let's see what else we can pick up on, because these images, we have words for them. We have all kinds of things when we get into these tarot images. So thank you so much for helping us with the moon and for writing beautiful songs. Let's take a look at the minor arcana. We had 22 majors, and we have more than 44, so more than double the amount. We have 56 minor arcana divided up into 4 suits, and you can probably recognize the ancestors to our playing cards that we use in Vegas, or if we're playing gin rummy or whatever. And the wands connected to the clubs, the cups connected to the hearts, the spades are the swords, and then the pentacles here are connected to the diamonds. But we're going to take this in a more Kabbalistic way, and we're going to flip this a little bit so that the wands, let's say, are at the top. And if the top is where, if this is another vast oversimplification, but let's imagine Source being like a giant champagne fountain, and it's just pouring down and pouring down and pouring down upon us through these different levels. The first level that it pours into, and just about as far as we can get up the chain there, but we can't control it, is the wands, and that's where the ideas come from. Where do our notions come from? Where do your people who talk to you come from? You don't control them, but they come to you. And so it's somewhere up in there is the realm of the wands, which is associated with fire. You can see some fiery symbols down on that. Fire it up, Knight of Wands. He's ready to roll here. And so if you have an idea, it comes from somewhere. It comes in through that sparky place of the wands. And then if that idea that is coming to us is going to be done anything with, pardon my prepositions, if you're going to do anything with that idea, then you're going to have to invest it with care. You're going to have to care about it enough. And that becomes then the emotional function, the watery function of the A's of the cups. We can see all kinds of symbols there. And then down below in the Knight of Cups, you can see that he is crossing water. He has this very courtly posture and cup that he's bringing forth, like a holy grail, in fact. And so the watery emotions are communicated by the cups. And then if that thing that we've had the idea about and that we care about, if we're going to do anything with it at all, we're probably going to have to plan for it, break it down, make a list, analyze, and get it into the intellectual function, which is represented by the swords or the air. And then you can see that Knight of Swords, he's off and running with his idea, and he's ready to go with that. And then and he's very fast moving with his idea. And then we come into the flesh. You know, if this thing is going to actually happen in the real world, what we call the real world of the physical phenomena, then it's going to be happening in the flesh, as we say, and it's going to be happening in time. So why is there a pentagram on this pentacle or coin there? Well, our currency is are our senses, our five senses in the world of our sight and sound and taste and hearing and smell. All of those are the way that we apprehend the world. And then the mental function of the swords, the emotional of the cups, and the ideas of the wands. Those are all outside of time and kind of outside of space. But the pentacles are where it's happening in the actual physical world. And that Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving because things happen slowly. They require gestation, planting, and he's got to watch that field and make sure that the crops come to fruition and the people get fed and no one starves. And, you know, because we have life and death and all that time in between on this earth plane. And so those are, again, at a simplistic level, what we are representing with these suits. And as we look at the suits 1 through 10, and then the court cards, we can see, let's say, for example, creative projects, ambitions, different states of ideas, and lots of fiery symbols in those 4 court cards: the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. Looking at the cups, we can see, let's say, phases of an emotional relationship or emotional states, with lots of watery symbols in the court cards, like lotuses and fish and shells and shorelines and rivers, etc., etc. Looking at the swords, which is kind of a rough suit because it's very analytical. It's very much about kind of cold rationality. This is a very business-like suit, and we can also be very cruel with our words to others and to ourselves. It can be very cutting. You can also see lots of air signs in the court cards there: birds and wind and clouds and butterflies, etc. And finally, in the pentacles, you can see the more earthly symbols that we have here. These can be family engagements, business relationships, things like that. And then lots of earth symbols in the court cards there. So that's going to be our vocabulary. And true to our teaching history, we have now front-loaded the vocabulary, so to speak. And what we're going to be doing with these then is going into a 13-card reading. And let me just make this a bit larger for us. The number 1 card is going to be you in the middle, Seth. That'll be representing yourself, kind of asking the question. And then the 2 and 3 are basically 2 things that are going on simultaneously in your life. And if you were in a boat, for example, or a sailboat, you'd be contending with both the current in the water as well as the wind. And sometimes they work together, sometimes they're at cross purposes, but they're both going on, and you have to contend with them both. Then we got a timeline kind of around here: distant past on the bottom, more recent past on the left, near future as we cross over that current time, and then up to further future in that number 7 card. And then on the right side, unconscious inside you, is that number 8 card. What's going on around you in the, let's say, the household, is the 9 card. What's your mind focused on? Not the only thing going on, but what's got you thinking, is the 10 card. And that 11 card is like a summary or a general kind of overview of this. And then we have some advice on the left, something to avoid. Might be a default mode, but better maybe to avoid it. And then on the right side, some advice that's going to be more supportive. So at whatever point that you want a reminder of what these positions are, you can ask me and we can put this image back up. You might want to take a little screenshot right now to have that be available to you just at hand, but just let me know and we can put it right up.
I got a picture from my phone, so I can.
That's a smart move. So then you have it right there.
Yeah, I'm going to do another one because that came out a little blurry. I did it too fast. Okay.
There you go. And so then that's what we're going to do right now. And Kefri has been shuffling, and now he's hydrating, and he's got the cards. I've got some cards. Is it okay with you if Kefri does the cards over there in Sweden?
Yes, absolutely.
True to our remote situation here. So he's going to prompt you through this process here.
And Seth, I am shuffling, and you say stop where you want the stop to be.
Stop.
There. And cutting, how many times do you want to cut if you want to cut?
4.
4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There we go. And we will look for a significator representing you from the beginning, and we do that from the bottom of the deck, the first king that comes up. So I do that now and look for a king. See which king it is that comes up. It's the King of Cups, actually. That represents you in this. We see here, King of Cups. And your covering card is the 8 of Cups. And your crossing card is the King of Wands. And your distant past card is the 7 of Cups. And your near past card is your 4 of Pentacles. And your near future card is the 8 of Wands. And your distant future or middle future card is the Judgment card. And your personal unconscious or unconscious card is the Strength card. And the house card is the Chariot. And the conscious card is the Queen of Swords. And the final card, or the result we would like to call it, is the Hermit card. And then we have this that we call the cautionary card, and it is the Tower card. And then last but not least, we have the one that we call the advice of what is good to do, and it is the Sun card. So there you have your reading set.
That's a lot of majors.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're gonna do the whole Hebrew word thing. All of it. It's gonna work you too hard, Kefri. Each of the
We'll see.
We'll see. If you take it as a challenge. Each of the major arcana is connected to a Hebrew letter, and you can then make some words out of them depending on if you take it right to left, top to bottom, whatever the situation may be. So as I'm doing my thing, I think that Kefri will be doing his as well. And Kefri, do you mind putting up that King of Cups? So I'm going to bug you to be putting up the focus cards, especially with this Celtic cross. The images are tiny. So there you are at the middle of it all. And I think you're trying to keep your cool in the middle of some changes. And so it's interesting to you're familiar with the role of a psychologist, and you're close with a psychologist. And this is often a psychologist, but the skills of a psychologist, but sometimes not wanting to engage them all or obey all the rules and things like that. And so having this knowledge, and so you are sitting at the middle of this, and you are in a decision-making capacity. And upon you are these two kinds of conflicted energies. One of them is the Eight of Cups. Let's go ahead and put up that Eight of Cups, Kefri, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then this one, we can see that he is, now there's that moon, again, overlooked by this moon. And it's a bit of a melancholy moon because this figure is walking away from something that had a lot of emotional investment, but still somehow is not enough to keep them there. They must go onto the higher ground. And so you are not unfamiliar. Let's look at that King of Wands there. Kefri, in the King of Wands is a figure that to me is always very comfortable going on to the next thing. He's confident of his successes. There's never a doubt that it can be accomplished. It's a question of whether you want to accomplish it. But it looks like you are wanting to move on to a next thing, even though other people might not understand why that is. It's because you've done so much you've invested so much care in this thing. Why would you walk away? And yet that is what is required for you to be on your true path. And that is the voice of two kings saying this, both the king of emotions as well as the king of inspiration. And so in that way, do be confident of whatever direction you want to take. It does seem to be slightly conflicted, I would say, because you've had the idea for a minute. Let's look down at that Seven of Cups. There's the Eight that we're walking away from. And let's look at the Seven, Kefri.
Seven of Cups, sorry.
And this is in the past. And so it's possible that what you are walking away from now was your absolute big dream back in the day. But now, so you've had a lot of dreams, and so there's a lot of things that you want to do. And this thing that you're perhaps walking away from or contemplating walking away from right now is one of those things, but it's not all of those things. And so it's important to acknowledge your own multi-desires, multi-talents, as well as the legitimacy of your exploring things that might not even play out. It's okay. It's part of your process. And more recently, perhaps some of those things didn't seem as realistic to do because of what they cost money-wise. Let's look at that Four of Pentacles, please. And this card here has been, you've been kind of having home equity on the brain, shall we say, lately. And what can you do? Where are things at right now? What can you really do? What can you venture forth? What should you hang on to? What should you sell? What should you borrow? What should you do? So you aren't badly placed in the world, thank goodness. And the question now is, what do you want to sit on and what do you want to walk away from? Maybe you're thinking of selling a place or selling something, but there's this idea that something that you've been holding tight to now seems a little easier to sacrifice, per se, or to consider distancing yourself from. And so going across from this very structured, financial, concerned, conscious consultation with the financial advisor, shall we say, are we going across the present time and now looking at that Eight of Wands, Kefri, in the future? We're going, so as soon as your kings come into some agreement over this move, and they maybe are still duking it out, I don't know. As soon as these two kings come into agreement, things are going to start to move pretty quickly because the decision has been made. And once the decision is made, it's on. And so everything starts aligning to move. And then it's wake up and smell the coffee with that Judgment card, because as those energies move, then you have to respond and you can't be as still as you were before. Kefri, let's look at that Judgment card, please.
There we go.
Thank you. And so as we move from, so as the kings come into agreement as to what is to happen, and as you start making that red coated, red being solar and martial, like Mars energy, as you don that energy and walk toward what is still unknown in that Eight of Cups, you're going to be, it's going to not feel so slow. It's going to really start speeding up with that Eight of Wands. And then it's going to take you to a very qualitative shift in life, which is this Judgment card. So maybe you're looking at a new house. Maybe you're looking at a new something. Maybe you're looking at a new, I don't know what, but at whatever point when it starts moving fast, you're going to have to make a decision. And then that's going to represent the qualitative shift in life that's going to represent a very new beginning. You're not, another 8 is down in your unconscious. So we've already seen 2 8s here. And now we've got all these majors up this personal line here on the side here, starting with what's in your unconscious. And so I would feel confident about whatever this move is. You certainly have the wherewithal to handle it. It looks like it's coming from a good place. It looks like whatever difficulties might arise from it can be handled with your own maturity and knowledge of people and how they work, and just knowing how to handle people and yourself, for that matter, knowing what you need, your own needs. And then what then is around you is this being in motion, this Chariot card. All these are majors. So this is a lot what you're thinking about here, and what is represented in minor cards in all of these bottom ones is going to result in this Judgment card, which is a big shift, which is then reflecting this whole thing that's coming up the right side of this reading, which is your internal strength, your internal balance, your ability to handle this movement and this self-development. Notice that this guy, and Kefri, go back for just a moment to that Chariot, please. Thank you. Notice that this charioteer is actually emerging from the stone. So what you are developing a new thing out of yourself. Out of yourself is this new thing coming. And it requires movement, because you can't be this new self in the same old place or the same old circumstances. So that movement is the required accommodation to this expansion of yourself. In your mind, the Queen of Swords, this decision is made. Let's look at that Queen of Swords, Kefri. It's possible that you're being a little one-sided in the way you're thinking about this right now, perhaps a little rigid. The difference between the King of Swords, that we're not seeing the King in this reading. We see the King of Cups and the King of Wands. The next one in line would be the King of Swords. But we're seeing the Queen here. And the Queen is, we see her in profile, and we see the sword like straight up. There's a self-assurance and a directionality that she is taking, brooking no opposition. And that's perhaps your mood and your mode right now. But it's also possible that you might need to kind of calm down a bit and recognize that you already bring strength. You don't have to bring force. You don't have to force it. But the separation that is implied in the Queen of Swords card may be able to be handled in a gentle way, in the same way that this figure is handling the lion down in the Strength card. It doesn't have to really force them, and yet the lion does have the tail between the legs, and so there is a domination, but it doesn't have to be cutting. It can be loving. The Hermit is in the position at top, and this figure in the Hermit card is following his own path. So it's possible that right now there's something that you need to do that others might not understand, but it's very important for you to do it, to seek it, to follow it. It may just be the notion of having some time unto yourself that is going to be helpful for this shift to happen. Recommended again. And so it's very interesting to see the Tower and the Sun. They're both very powerful energies. Go ahead. So the Hermit is a powerful character. You've seen the Wheel of Fortune. That's the idea of the fates. But the Hermit is the hand. And the hand turns the wheel. And so this is the idea of you're kind of taking your fate into your own hands and making a decision for yourself. The encouragement on this with the Tower is to avoid, and let's look at that Tower, Kefri. It doesn't, in order for you to achieve this, you don't have to blow everything up. You don't have to call everything into question. You don't have to tear it all up. But you can, and let's notice, so we've got the red and the blue.
I don't know if Alison has frozen.
Yeah, her audio went, and then it looked like she was coming back.
Yeah, and I am also frozen, but I seem to be in the room still. Now we should see.
Sorry about that. This is an ancient computer. I have computer problems. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah. Now I am blocked by some reason. I don't know why.
I'm not sure. Hold on.
But that's no, it doesn't matter.
I'm not sure why that's happening.
No, but it
Make
doesn't
sure your
matter.
computer is plugged in, because mine wasn't, and it died even though it has 23% power.
Mine is plugged in actually, so that's not the problem. Something
Maybe it
else.
will come back. Let's.
Yeah.
Why don't you close the window, open a new window, and come back in? Is that okay?
Yeah, I can do that.
Ooh. This is a very Mercury retrograde experiences, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not super astrological, but I've definitely been having my share. And I broke a gorgeous MacBook on the train. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And let's go ahead and bring in your display too, Kefri.
Yeah, it comes. One moment. There it is.
Okay, so as we look at this recommendation against card with the Tower card, I think that in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve and to get the feeling of freedom that you want to achieve, or to do this thing that you need to do, this vision quest, whatever it is, I don't think you need to blow everything up. I don't think you need to, not everybody needs to go through the changes that you want to go through.
Hold on one second. I need to give my dogs a treat. Otherwise, they're not going to. course, I don't see any of my handy water bottles. That all I have to do is lift it, and they. But I will. Hopefully that treat will mellow them out. Back.
Okay, let's take a quick look at that King of Cups back in the middle, Kefri, if you don't mind.
There.
Yeah, so we can see this King of Cups, and he's got 3 different colors. He's got the blue, the red, and he's got the yellow upon him. And then this figure that's walking away in this 8 of Cups, let's look at him, Kefri. He's got the red garment. And then we have these 2 characters who are being tossed out of this tower. And this is the recommendation against. And so perhaps this is 2 sides of yourself. Perhaps this is you and your loved one. But I don't think that you need to just toss out the baby with the bathwater to achieve this change that you need. This thing that you need really is about your own sense of freedom. And let's look at that Sun card. Rather than taking action to kind of show what change you're going through, perhaps you can just let the changes happen in the way that they will most surprise and lead you effectively. And rather than taking charge of making the change for yourself, you can acknowledge that it's coming and let it happen and really pray for it to happen in the most beneficial way for everyone concerned, to get the most sunny, warm benefit from this infusion of energy. Because what this is an infusion of energy, and rather than it being destructive or harmful, it can be helpful and beautiful if you channel it that way, shall we say. And that perhaps requires you to set your ego back, to let somebody else control the timing, or to let just the universe control the timing, something along those lines. Just allow yourself to be led and allow yourself to be a learner in this instead of the instigator, would be my advice on this. So your head is bobbing, so I hope that this is resonating for you. It's probably rather a large and personal issue, and not a tiny one. And so in that way, with all of these majors here, you do have the hand of the hermit. You are in control of this situation. So be judicious with the amount of control you have, and take that Hippocratic oath and do as little harm as possible as you go through this shift. Because these are big psychological and spiritual shifts that involve balancing opposite sides of a very strong thing. The red and the blue, it's balancing the red and the blue with the strength. It's balancing the green and the purple with the tower card, and having this ability to sustain conflicting energies without like flipping over to the one side. And so if you can manage to, and that's that strength card. So if you can manage to, and this is the moon card as well, handle within yourself all of this internal conflict that you're going to be starting to feel without projecting it upon other people like it's their fault, or without expressing the volcanic stuff that's coming up. If you can express it for yourself without laying it on somebody else as if it's their fault, that will go a long way to making you a happy child instead of a miserable person thrown out of something pretty good. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to leave it there, and you're welcome to make any commentary. But Kefri also has his take on this, and I didn't mention this before. I think I did when we saw each other. Is what we try to do, and I've mentioned the Kabbalistic Tree of Life a couple of times here, is that I tend to interpret at the earthly, mundane kind of, how does this play out in day-to-day life? And then Kefri may do an interpretation that involves how these cards, and there's lots of them, these majors, how they might reflect in your spiritual development, and that might give us another layer and some more dimension for this reading.
Thank you, Alison. First, it's interesting that you was choosing the moon set, because Alison has also been into it. But the hermit, the face of the hermit, it's actually the face in the moon card, actually. That has some bearing here, I believe. But looking at this from the beginning here, from the significator here in this case, it's like you are working a lot with your emotions for the moment, and it's like a shift. Alison has been into it, and it's like a shift into something higher, something on a higher level, something bigger in another sense than you have experienced before, actually. And it's a balance, as Alison also have been saying here. It's a lot of balance here, and in this thing that is monitoring, mirroring here in two ways, actually. It is about divine energies coming down to you, so you can work with them. So it's an enlargement in what you do, actually, on a higher plane, a more divine plane, I would say. And for the moment, I don't think that you know what you should do with this, because it's like you want to reach out to the world with it, but you don't have it all in place yet, so to speak. And this is something that has been with you a long time, actually, that you have wanted to do this, but it's like over the years it has sorted itself up into categories, so you can perhaps begin to look at it in another way, in a more concentrated way than you have been able to do before, actually. And that is good. And for the moment, it's like you are collecting your resources, so to speak. And I don't think it is only money resources. I think it's also knowledge resources and things that you can use in making this thing happen, actually. And if it hasn't started, it will start very soon, that you will be bombarded by ideas, actually, how you want to present this thing. And for the moment, it's a bit sketchy. It's a bit not clear. It's like being inside a cloud or something. And but it will actually clear in the future here. And what is happening here is that there is coming in a lot of light, actually, light energies, actually, that is possible for you to work with. And that is something new. And also, I think there is an ingredients of mysticism here that is opening up, actually, and that could be connected to Gnosticism. It could be connected to scriptures, going deeper into scripture text, going deeper into stories and myths and everything. And that is something that will also open up that light thing, actually. And you are ready for that today, actually, and you know that deep inside of yourself also, even if you are going through a sort of a shadow period of a lot of shadow work inside of what is happening now, so to speak. And for the moment, with the Chariot card there, it's like you have begun begun to create a sort of an area where you can work with this without being disturbed or without being affected of the outer world, so to speak, that you can go inside and perhaps use discernment here also. And this is a slowly work, and it's a work that is needed actually, and it could also be connected to old Egypt and alchemy and different things actually, old esoterical theories and disciplines actually. And that is good actually. It could also be connected to secret societies and what is in them and how they are presenting things. So that is also in there. And still, as Alison has been into, you need to also choose and cut off what you don't want in all this that is coming up now, what you can use of all this that is presented to you inside of you, so to speak. And the Tower card here, I look at this like there isn't going to be any catastrophe of doing this thing that you are thinking of doing, even if it is on the sketchy plane for the moment. But it will be a success actually, because that is the sun there. That is the advice card also, and it will also get yourself into connection with your own soul being inside of this, so to speak. And the Hermit, of course, is the deep meditation, the deep concentration, focusation, pondering thing in of this that you are doing for the moment actually, and that is very good actually. And there is, as Alison was saying, there is a lot of Hebrew letters here in the major arcana card, and they create some words actually, and I have looked at them from the down, going down this this spread, like I am thinking that is what the divine energy, when they come in, how they present themselves, and the up, and going up when you are working with higher energies, so to say. And there is a word here for the down movement, and that is will hide actually. And I think that you should keep this inside what is coming now. I don't think you should share it until you are sure how it should be shared actually. And also I think that the higher channels here will not present everything at once. They will hide something until you are ready, but it's important you are working with it, and it will be presenting it more and more and more actually, creating a sort of a wholeness in the end. And the other word here that is going from the up direction is better actually. And I think that is the case here. It will be better and better the more you are exploring these things that comes up, and also use discernment and learn to use discernment to see this is what I want to take with me from this that has been presented to me on a deeper stage, so to say. And it's nothing to be feared of that it is so shallow and sketchy for the moment, because that is what it needs to be before it takes form. It's like we are back in this card actually, with the clouds and everything that needs to go into their separate compartments and so on. And that is a process that you know from earlier times in life, so you can use that now more effectively, actually, and that is in this also. And I see this as a very good reading, very bright, very much light in here, even if it is a quite it's a quite profound process you are going through inside of yourself, deep inside of yourself, but you have the strength to journey through this, actually, and something better will come out on the other side, and something better will come out that can be presented to the world also. And I stop there. Thank you.
So there you go. That is the tarot flow with a big fat Celtic cross reading. I think it's very interesting also that 7 of Cups that you were showing in that kind of foggy thing is now also reflected in the 7 of the Chariot that's in the household around you. So it's kind of like the circumstances around you are providing the means to start externalizing some of these ideas that you've been considering or that you've been carrying around for a while. And so as you make the decision with that Queen of Swords to engage some of those, it's okay to let it flow, and it doesn't have to mean the destruction or the loss of other things or the loss of people. It doesn't have to represent loss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well,
so that's how we entertain ourselves on this show, you know.
Yes, very, very great, very entertaining. So just a couple of things. There's so much I could respond to, but I'll just choose. I'll be the Queen of Swords and be discerning about what I acknowledge. So it's just interesting. I think it was the 8 of Cups looking in the cloud with the and then the one walking away from all of that one, and then there was that one. So it's always been my thing in life. You know, some people I always feel sad for because they have no passion. They have no desire. Like, what do I want to do? Like, what gets me going? I've always been the opposite. I've always had a plethora. I love when I get to use the word plethora. A plethora of things that I wanted to do. And I still to this day hear my mother's voice telling me when I was about 20, 21, 22, no, probably about 22, 23, Seth, you can only be in one place at one time. You know, because I want to be here and I want to be here. I want to be there. Because I just always had this zest for doing all these things. So, and then ultimately in life, you have to make choices because we have the bandwidth to do what we have the bandwidth to do. And and I have always felt very blessed and rewarded in the choices I've made, and they've always rewarded me. But now I'm in a place in life where I have a lot more freedom to grab all those cups, and sometimes that means walking away from other things, and sometimes it means walking away from situations, to really, like, I got to a point where I felt like, you know, I'm getting older, maybe wiser. That's still to be determined. Like, I don't have to participate in this. I don't have to participate in that. Like, I get to choose what I'm going to participate in and what I'm not going to participate in. And that was probably one of the most freeing things. And then I'll lastly go back to the to avoid and to take advice. There was the Tower, which I just love that card, and I got to write a song. That card just spoke to me, and there's already a song brewing. I love that card so much. And you know, and also the analytical versus the Sun of the allowing. There's the analytical and there's the allowing. There's the ego and there's the accepting. And anytime we choose the allowing and the accepting as opposed to the analytical and the ego, the flow it's like a river, and it just flows, and then it takes you where you need to be. And it's not a matter of, like, you give up control, but in giving up control, we also there's a dichotomy in this. We have a control because I'm allowing this to happen. So those are the things that in the short amount of time that I just wanted to touch upon, and then also the Eight of Cups with all of those lines in them. It just also, I think, represented again all the different wands. I think it was the Eight of Wands, not the Eight of Cups. I'm sorry. That's the one on the right in the first cross. Yeah, that one. Again, it's just all of the inspirations that are out there, and allowing the ones, making myself available for the ones that I want to make myself available for. Because sometimes you have to say no to certain things and walk away, like that other card of the cups, because as my mom would say, physically we can only be in one place at one time, and sometimes energetically, because I have so much that I appreciate and enjoy, that it's like, oh, I want to be everywhere. But Seth, you are not God, and you cannot be everywhere. So anyway, those were the things I wanted to respond to.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's always a nice payoff for us to know that there's a connection between what we've been talking about and what the person's actually experiencing, and then to see how that's really playing out. And so we appreciate your being here today. Tell your friends, this is an available service, and we enjoy showing how this works and pulling back the curtain a bit on tarot, and allowing people to have the experience. It's not your first time, but we do specialize in people for having their first tarot reading on this show. And so
right.
we are gentle
actually,
with them.
I mean, I think this might have been my first tarot reading.
Really?
Tarot reading.
Oh.
I've had oracle card readings, which are like tarot. They're not those cards, but they're based in that. But I think this might have been my first actual tarot.
Wonderful. Well, I feel honored and privileged to have provided that, and hope that it's been a good experience for you. Cool.
Absolutely. May I make a shameless plug?
Oh, absolutely.
Which you can edit out if you'd like, and I wouldn't be insulted. I have released an album called All Night Diner, and I brand it as 12 songs to inspire us to hope and love more. And you can get that on any platform where you get your music. You can also get there through my website, SETH.com. Life is kind of relates to something in the reading. I released the album in April. I had got vertigo in March. You then got this vestibular thing. So it's like I worked so hard to put this thing out into the world that, like the hermit, I had to really step back and just, So, but anyway, if anyone would like to hear that music,
absolutely. And for anybody looking in the show notes, scroll down below, and we'll have all that clickable in the show notes down below. And you'll give me the information, Seth, so we can include that.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Kefri, for being here. Thank you, Seth, for being here. I appreciate you both. I'm going to take us out with a little music and welcome you back. Maybe you can come back and do an update with us at some point in the future. We would really welcome that opportunity. So thank you again, Seth, for being here. And we will talk with you soon and wish you all the best on your wonderful album. And thank you for being on the Tarot Flow Show. We appreciate you. Bye-bye. Hey.
Bye.
Kefri Scarabus, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison.